Stories and songs provide comfort, connection, and a sense of common purpose.
Join us for the first of 2 episodes featuring comforting conversations. Next time on Philosophy Talk.
Listen to Philosophy Talk today at noon on KSJE 90.9 FM, Farmington. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, here to meet your urgent and emergent medical needs, whether they are COVID-19 related or not. Medical emergencies happen when you least expect them, whether it's a stroke, heart attack, illness, or injury. San Juan Regional Medical Center's caregivers are here to provide care to you and your loved ones. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. Ten minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Tuesday morning, May the 19th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Nicklin. Thank you for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM over the air in San Juan County, 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, and of course you can listen anywhere streaming from our website at ksje.com. Welcome also to our viewers. This is visual radio after all. We are streaming the video live to the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel this morning. Coming up in just a moment, my guests from the Aztec School District will be talking with Superintendent Kirk Carpenter and Deputy Superintendent Tania Prokop. She'll be joining us as well, so we hope you'll join both of us and all of us coming up in the next few moments, talk about the end of the school year for Aztec Schools. And then, of course, it is Tuesday, so we'll be talking with Amber Francisco from the Farmington Regional Animal Shelter. Amber will be telling us about some of the pets available for adoption this week, so stay tuned for that, coming up this hour at 8:50 a.m. At 9 a.m. on our Facebook and YouTube channels, it's our local information program about the coronavirus. Megan Cullip joins me here in Studio A as my co-host, and this morning we're talking to local pediatrician Dr. Preston Harrington about the virus and its effect on children and what we are learning more about its effect on children these days. That's coming up today at 9 a.m. live on YouTube and Facebook, a rebroadcast this evening at 5:06 on the radio at 90.9 FM, 103.3, and streaming at ksje.com. On the radio at 9, Mick Hess takes us roving with the arts. He's playing more Bach cantatas for us on this Tuesday. That's what's coming up today at 9 on the radio on KSJE. In addition to Facebook and YouTube, we also remind you to connect with KSJE on Twitter and on Instagram as well. It's 58 degrees outside our studios this morning. Our weather forecast calls for a mostly sunny day today, but a windy day. There's a red flag warning in effect because of the hot and windy conditions. The high today, 87 in Farmington, clear, and 46 overnight. Mostly sunny on Wednesday, but cooler with a high of 71 tomorrow. Sunny and 73 on Thursday, 80 by Friday, 78 on Saturday, and sunny with 76 degrees for a high on Sunday, with overnight lows from the mid-30s up into the mid-40s. Well, let me turn to my guests who are here with us this morning. Superintendent Kirk Carpenter is here from the Aztec School District. Good morning, Mr. Carpenter.
Good morning, Scott.
Good to have you with us. Also, Deputy Superintendent Tania Prokop also joining us via Zoom this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Scott.
Thank you both for being with us, and let's get right to it. This is the wrapping up of the school year, which has been, I think, an understatement, one of the most unique school years in probably both of your careers. Mr. Carpenter, any thoughts on, as things kind of wrap up, how have your students and staff done with everything moving to online instruction?
You know, I think probably the best way to sum it up is to just congratulate our staff and our students. You know, I think unprecedented is the word everybody goes to, but I don't know how else you put it. It's been exactly that. But we tip our hats to our students and our staff. They have taken on this challenge and turned it into an opportunity to do many things that I think that even have surprised us with what they have done to continue the learning. And it hadn't been just to get by. And I think that's been the attitude that we took on with this from the very beginning. It wasn't something to just pacify the time and try to just offer something to do. We try to push new learning do different things, identify what we felt like were the essential skills that needed to take place, and it wasn't perfect. There absolutely are some things and some gaps, but that was the attitude that this did matter. Learning did matter. Learning was going to continue. Campuses were closed, but learning was not. And the creativity and the things that came out of this, COVID-19 is evil. And that being said, we want to thank all the frontline folks. And God bless those people and all the other people that are providing all the essential things. So that being said, we want to not negate that. But there are a lot of things that have come out of this that have shown the beauty of what can happen in a situation like this, where people have come together and shown the creativity and how teachers can connect with their students distant. We are physically isolated, but we are not socially isolated. And I say that from the standpoint of just the way teachers have connected and the way students have connected and the creativity and the things that have happened in learning. And I think what we have to do now is we have raised the bar in many respects because of that in the way we have approached learning. And we can't go backwards. And we're not going to go backwards. Obviously, we need to continue to do the things we need to stay healthy and safe and let us get through all of those things. And that needs to take place. And we as a community have to continue to do the right things, staying home and doing all of that and get through the virus part of this and let the health professionals develop, the vaccines or whatever needs to take place on that, Scott.
Sure.
Because we're not anywhere close to getting over this, and we know in our county either. That's why, we have certain things still in place by our governor's office and, the economy. I mean, there's a lot of things here that are still devastating and with families, and we have to think about those things. And I know that in some respects people say, how do you find stuff to talk about that's good? I think you have to in every situation. If you're not finding good in situations, and it's going to be a long, miserable life. And I have a calendar in my office, and I refer to this statement a lot lately, but we can let it define us, destroy us, or strengthen us. And I think we have to find ways to let this situation strengthen us in many facets, whether it's educationally, emotionally, whatever it is, in the way it brings us together. And we've found a lot of things, I believe, in my mind, and I think a lot of us would say that this has brought us together. As a district, as teachers, it's built a lot of skills that we didn't know existed, and it's forced us to. And that's often what you find in these kinds of situations, is our folks step up. They have. The students have stepped up. The families have stepped up. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. And I will say this. If we were to start next school year in the same situation, we have to be better than we were this time with where we were, and we will be. But whatever we're faced with, this community is amazing. And when I say this community, it's not just Aztec. There were many magical things that happened throughout this county. We're very fortunate. This is a tremendous county. Emergency management and all the meetings we have one. There's one going on right now. We have it every week to stay abreast of what's happening. Just incredible people. And if there's a better place to live, you'll have to convince me, because when it comes to situations like this, people are all working together to do what's right for this community. And so there are a lot of great things happening to make sure we're staying safe, but a lot of great things happening to make sure we're providing the best opportunity for our kids in learning, safety, everything, every little protocol you can think of. So we'll keep moving forward.
Very good. Lots of cooperation. We've talked about that before, you and I and Ms. Prokop on this program, about how all the entities really work together in this part of the state. That's very true. You were mentioning some of the positive stories, and we were talking about that right before we came on the air this morning. Tania Prokop, you were telling me about the honors banquet that was held in a little different way this year because of the orders from the governor and stay-at-home orders and physical distancing and things. So you all got together via Zoom, and that actually had some positives to it as well. Even though you couldn't gather in your traditional banquet setting, there was some positives that came out of that, because I think folks had a little different experience. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So the honor banquet has been a tradition in Aztec Schools for 32 years. In 1988, a school board member, Mary Neville Hayes, decided that it'd be neat to put something in place where students can honor one of the educators that had made an impact in their lives. So we've continued that tradition even during COVID-19. So our honor grads invited an educator, somebody that's made a difference in their life in Aztec Schools. And that was done virtually. It was done through Zoom last night. We kept as much of the traditional aspects of it as we could, with introductions and welcomes by board members, comments by the superintendent, Dr. Hall, the principal at Aztec High School, and myself. And then, excuse me, each student then introduced their teacher, and the teacher then spoke about that student. And so I was reminded of a quote that I saw this morning: train your mind to see the good in every situation. And so debriefing last night's virtual honor banquet, we had a board member send an email that said that they actually really enjoyed it. This board member doesn't really like technology, but really enjoyed the virtual Zoom honor banquet, because actually could see and hear each graduate really well, and this guest speaker that they brought. Normally during the honor banquet, the students don't interact much. It's a very formal, there's a dinner, so the seating's very formal and they don't get to interact. Well, last night they had a chance to interact a little bit more. A second grade teacher actually was showing pictures with some of the different honor grads. And so they ended up unmiking and interacting a little bit more than usual. So it turned out to be a really great event, and I really appreciated hearing the thanks that many of the graduates spoke last night, that we still kept this tradition going.
How great. And again, that is a great tradition in Aztec and for your students. And the feedback that you've been getting are that folks were, even though it was a bit different, they still enjoyed carrying on the tradition and being able to enjoy it in a little different way, it sounds like.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a great night, and there was not a lot of cleanup, which was great.
That's true. That's very true. That's wonderful. Well, Mr. Carpenter, it's exactly kind of what you were talking about, right? That we are doing things a bit differently in these times, but there are still some traditions that can go on, and still some ways of instruction that can go on, and students are expected to continue their lessons and things along that line. And you mentioned a little bit about what things will look like in the fall. I know that's still a big question mark for you and a lot of school districts, if not all the school districts in our state. But those are some of the things that you and your staff are looking at and trying to get direction from the public education department, correct?
We are, and just not to belabor the point from last night, but want to thank Fran Dobie, one of our school board members. Nice. She came forward and said, we can't have the honor banquet, but can we do something with honor grads? And so I just want to do a quick shout out to her for coming. She called me and said, hey, can I talk to you about something? So we did the social distancing, just to put that on the record. Good. But we wanted to pursue that, the honor banquet, I guess it's honor, I don't know what we call it last night, the honor ceremony, but it was a tremendous event last night. I think the biggest thing is sometimes we put limits on what we can do during this time to still celebrate, and we're gonna highlight our honor grads. We do a lot of things when it's athletics and celebrate, and the most important business we're in is academics. So we're going to have on our website, just for listeners to know, we're going to hopefully later this week start highlighting an honor grad each day, put it on our website, a little profile, some of their fondest memories, some of the things they're planning to do in the future, and get those highlighted, because that's the most important thing we do are academics. And these young people, the top 20 of Aztec High School, have obviously earned this little spotlight, so that's going to be coming up on our Facebook and our website. As far as looking in the future, Scott, ironically, today we're going to be visiting with principals again about what the future may hold. We don't know, but what we have to do is look at maybe 3 different types of models. So online type thing, what we're doing right now, again, more of a robust and better delivery, and that's going to take some resources. How do we deliver those resources? The CARES funding has come to the district, and we'll probably receive over about $360,000. We'll have some of that. That'll be our portion. We have probably 20-some thousand go to our alternative, or not alternative, but Mosaic Charter Academy. So some of that funding, what do we do with it? It goes to a lot of different things we have to determine that. So we'll be meeting on what we do with some of that funding, and that's specifically because of COVID. But the delivery models, there's 3 types of models that we have been talking about. Online, a social distancing type model, which means do you bring half your kids in for half the day, the other half the other day, because it's going to be something that is literally could be a model we have to use to start school next year. Or do you go one day with one group, one day with another? We don't know. But what we can't do is wait to plan that, because we, again, not knowing what's going to be out there, you can't wait to plan these things. You have to try to get ahead of it. And if something is then deliberated on by the public education department to say you have to go with this, we have to be ready to put it in place. So we are actually not just talking, we're planning. We already have some schools that have a plan to say we would like to see this type of plan. There's models that have been out there. Some schools, districts have had models. We've actually looked at one. Albuquerque Public Schools, for example, has had kind of a tentative draft, and we, politely borrowed and let them know, hey, we're looking at this, and nobody minds. I mean, in New Mexico is such a great state. We share a lot of resources. And the other model that we're looking at and trying to make our own too is this idea of if we do have full capacity to open, but the normal is no longer normal. It's a new normal. And what's that look like with scheduling of natural breaks for washing hands, and how do you feed kids but not maybe feeding them in the lunchroom, feeding them in classrooms. And so the
Right.
planning that goes around this is huge. And in a district our size, as much as you want to try to divide and conquer these different types of learning plans, it's difficult because we're a small, medium-sized district, a very small, medium-sized district. So when we talk about dividing and conquering, it's all of us doing the same planning in a lot of the same areas. But I will say this, we have tremendous principals, tremendous district leadership folks, and so we will get the job done, but it's going to take some time, and we need to decide what's it going to take, and does that mean bringing people in over the summer? How do we do that? Can we compensate? And so we have to decide those things, and that's what we're doing. We're not waiting. We can't wait. But we also can't wait to say, let's see what they decide to do before we do all this. Because if you do that, you're behind the 8 ball, and that's going to put learning behind, and we're not going to wait for that. So in some cases, we'll plan some things and put them on the shelf, and if we need them, we need them, and if we don't, it's not wasted planning, because it's about learning and getting ahead of the game.
Understood. Let me ask you both a little bit about learning, because I know we've talked before about your students, and of course, some students do well, some students maybe don't do as well in classes, and you want everyone to learn all the things that they're supposed to learn during the school year. We've talked a lot about maybe distractions in the classroom, and some students learn better than others. Is that something that, I know there's not a lot of data on it right now about how all this has affected some of your students, not all of them, of course, but some students may be performing better at home, some not as well at home. Does that concern you about maybe concepts that weren't quite grasped during all this time of having to have instruction in a totally different setting? Tania Prokop, can we start with you on that question? What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's never a one-size-fits-all, even when we're under regular conditions and in the classroom. So in speaking with our site leaders and looking at what we're going to have to do when we start up again in the fall, it's talking about assessing kiddos and seeing if there was a slip, and what if there was any unfinished learning and what that looked like. And so it's going to be really individual to what kids are going to need in the fall. Because like you mentioned, some are excelling, some are doing really well in this environment, and they have the supports necessary to be able to do that. So it's really taking a look at kiddos. It's really about also using the processes that we already have in place with assessing kids, providing some differentiated instruction to help those students fill in some of the gaps that may occur. And so we're going to dovetail. We're going to dovetail what we're already using, some different processes that we're already using with our professional learning communities, and really taking kids where they're at. And that's if we return to a normal classroom kind of setting. We're going to have to adapt and do some work over the summer to be ready no matter what the situation looks like in the fall.
Understood. Mr. Carpenter, any thoughts about that, helping kids that are maybe not doing so well in this online environment? Because I know it's not a one-size-fits-all, as Ms. Prokop mentioned.
No, the only thing I probably would add is that, we're going to send out a survey in the next day or two and find out from parents what worked, what didn't, and even with some of our older students, what worked, what didn't, and try to get a better idea, because I think data will help us inform us to give us a better idea of, in the event we have to start up with an online, or even if we don't, if it's a hybrid type approach. Because if we're talking about any kind of social distancing model where maybe some kids are here, some aren't, we still have to deliver the learning and keep things in a timely manner. We cannot provide the same type of learning in the same way we did this last 9 weeks to start school and continue that regardless of what happens. And so we're going to have to be more timely. It's going to have to be new learning. So even our platform is going to have to be different. So all that being said, we have to collect data to go forward with our planning. So it's going to be a very comprehensive approach in a very short period of time to say, how do we make this happen? And that's going to take resources and bringing the experts in to do some of that. Whether that's filming lessons so that if kids are here getting instruction, then when they're at home, providing them with the other resources to where when they're not here getting that instruction, they can either see it, and we're flipping classrooms, meaning for those listeners who may not be familiar with that they're seeing that same delivery of instruction from the teacher at home. So when they come back to school the next day, they can continue with the work and vice versa, so that we can keep things on time and on a very similar pace for all kids to learn the same skills, so that we're not getting those gaps that, like we lost 9 weeks of learning, we're not continuing that. And it's going to be very crucial because we don't know how long that could last. I mean, there's a lot of talk across the country. This is a national conversation. It's not just one in New Mexico. But we know in our county, when you consider where people are across the country, our county is one of the ones that's up there with the significant number of cases per population. So we are in a critical place, even in our state. So we are comparing all of that and just trying to prepare the best way we can. But one thing we're not doing is trying to drive that down from our level of central office administrators. We're supporting, we're trying to give them guidelines, and when I say they, it's down to our principals, who are going to our teachers, because it needs to be a grassroots level, because our experts are in the classrooms. Those are our teachers. They understand how things work, and we're trying to work that way. But we're up against a timeline. This is the last week we have a lot of people, but that doesn't mean that we can't find ways to bring our experts in summer if we need to do more planning. The other thing we're trying to do as well, with 3 or 4 days left, is what do we do over the summer? We need to continue some of the summer learning as much as possible, more so than ever before, because of the last 9 weeks. We've talked about the summer slide all the time. Ms. Prokop is one of the ones that I know, for me, introduced this whole idea, and we've talked about it. What do we do with parents and suggest some of the activities they can do with kids over the summer? It used to be when you go travel, have them figure out the mileage, or when you're cooking, figure out the recipes, or do all these other things. This summer is more important than ever before because of the last 9 weeks. So those are some of the other things we need to get out. Or do we need to send home stuff? Do we need to continue with some of the online? We're taking some of the technology and stuff back, but I think we need to think about those things as well, that not only have we had 9 weeks of, I don't want to call it deficiency in learning, but
right.
It's obviously been different.
Sure.
And there is going to be a slide, but now you throw on the summer slide. So all of those things are going to affect us. But we have great people, and the partnership with parents has been increased, and we cannot let that go away. But we also know it's going to be different because a lot more parents are going to be working come fall.
Understood. Well, thank you. And I would assume that, again, as you plan for the fall semester and the new school year to start, you and your crew are going to have a lot more time than you had over spring break to plan for this past online experience, or whatever the experience is in the fall. Isn't that true? I mean, you've obviously got weeks ahead of you to do some of this.
True. I think that's true. I think the one big difference is making the learning and the offering more robust. And so, yes, we'll have more time. It's just, as I think I've said, and Ms. Prokop will probably give better terminology for this, because I always say that Ms. Prokop, Ms. Engelhardt, are the brain trust of this operation, but just making the offering more robust.
Understood. Very good. Well, we just have a couple of minutes remaining this morning, both of you from Aztec School District. I want to talk a little bit about graduation because, again, we talked about the Honors Banquet, another Aztec tradition, and, of course, for our seniors, college seniors, high school seniors, and others, graduations are something that have been a little bit tweaked to be able to give your students and your seniors some sort of closure, and that work is going on, and there are plans for I know something on Friday, and I know your principals are working on that, Mr. Carpenter, but that is something that you wanted to make sure at least happened in some form for your students, for your seniors, right?
Yes, and we want to first of all thank Secretary of Education, Dr. Ryan Stewart. I mean, he went to bat, especially for up in this part of the region. I know a lot of our school districts have worked diligently in conversation, trying to ask and see what we could get done up here. When the stay-home order came in place, we had to go virtual, and that's what we had to do, and we were going to abide by that, obviously, for obvious reasons. When the top officials in the state say you can only do virtual, that's what we needed to do, and for the right reasons. It's not just about obeying what the governor has to say. I mean, she is the top official in the state, and that's what you do. I mean, that's the right thing to do, but also for the safety reasons. However, because of the way we're doing things, because of the protocols we have in place, Dr. Stewart's kind of opened up and said, look, I think because of the way you guys are explaining the things you can do, and because of other ways businesses are operating up here, and the way we explain things, Dr. Stewart went to bat and said, okay, I think we can open up and allow you guys maybe to do kind of a drive-through type ceremony. And that's what Aztec High School will have as a ceremony, because we had extended our year for seniors to finish till June 16th, and we looked at that because we felt like we weren't going to be ready, because we couldn't predict the stay homes, but we felt like with the way things were going, we attend safety meetings every week, that we probably weren't going to be able to have any kind of gathering. But our board voted on the 22nd, or on earlier in the month, I can't remember the date, the 4th maybe, that they wanted to have things done on the 22nd. So that's perfect. That's fine. That's a decision that was made. And so having that done, we are going to do a drive-through ceremony on the 22nd, which obviously is this Friday, and they'll do that in the morning. They'll do a little processional through town. It won't be a escorted thing, but it will be an opportunity for seniors all to get in their vehicles, gather one place, drive over to the football stadium, abiding by all traffic laws, so that people don't have to worry about them being not abiding by that.
Okay.
I'll just say that. And then they'll drive through the stadium. There'll be a tour, tour through the stadium over there at Fred Cook, and then they'll come down and they'll get their diplomas, and the board will be able to deliver the diplomas. Students will have to be in their vehicles and that type of thing. And we'll abide by all the provisions that the Secretary of Education has delivered that we have to abide by in our region. And all the social distancing, all the things that are there, families will be able to be in the vehicles as provided. But it's still going to be an opportunity, the best we can do given the situation. But we, again, appreciate the opportunity to be able to do that. And then I know, Scott, you're going to be involved with this. There's going to be opportunity for people to tune in and see this. It'll be podcasted, I think, and recorded, so families can see that.
We are looking forward to being able to help to present that on the radio as well as on social media. So thank you for including us with that. And Mr. Carpenter, you and I had an experience just last week with San Juan College High School, which, of course, you were honoring some Aztec students there with their graduation. And so same kind of a thing. We're very pleased to be able to help present that to the community as well.
Yeah. So it's going to be a good celebration, and then that night at 7 o'clock is when I'll actually do the virtual part of it. So
right.
It's a mix. It's a hybrid approach, and the virtual part will have all the speeches, all the other celebrations of the students, which, again, I know you're going to have some voiceover parts, and you've done some recording stuff. And so it's going to be, again, is it what we wanted? No. Is it how we wanted to end things? No. But I think it's an opportunity for people to make it their story and pull out the positives. And life's funny sometimes. We don't get to pick and choose what happens, but we absolutely have full control how we can take and make it ours afterwards and what we do with it. So that's what we have to do this year. And so we're trying to make the best. And I commend the high school and the students again, because they plan graduation. and they've done a tremendous job. Dr. Hall and his staff, Anna Strauss. I'm not sure where we'll be when Anna Strauss decides to retire. We're going to have to take about 4 or 5 people to replace her, but they've done a great job in trying to plan this, and we appreciate the city, the banners that are hung up on the seniors. Every single senior has a banner hung up in Riverside Park. If you're over in Aztec, take a little detour and drive through there. It's really touching, and we appreciate Lacey Phillips, one of our board members. You know, we had seen this project, and I passed it on to her and said, "Hey, this would be a great project." And all you have to do is mention something to her. She's a pretty good go-getter, and she got it done. And a lot of great work from the project graduation folks getting that done. And we appreciate all the alumni and people that supported that project for our kids. And we got a yard sign project going on for our seniors. Their yard signs are in their yards. Great community, Scott. We know that up here in San Juan County and Aztec. We just appreciate everybody.
Well, a great way to celebrate your seniors, and of course, no virus can ever take away their accomplishments either from what they have done with Aztec Schools. So that's wonderful. Well, we are just about out of time, both of you. Again, Tania, Prokop, final thoughts about your seniors from Aztec Schools and these very different graduation plans. But again, they still get to celebrate in some capacity.
They sure do, and I just so appreciate the families and the students and the community looking on the bright side of things. I know that our valedictorian did her speech. The mom was really sad that she wasn't going to be able to see her daughter walk on the stage presenting the speech, but I spoke with the mom yesterday, and she really flipped it and saw the positives of how she got to be there with her daughter, and she was her daughter's audience, and it was a very special moment for her and her daughter to share. And so it's that kind of optimism. It's that what we need in our new normal. I heard on KSJE this morning something that talked about, what if our new normal is better? How can we make it better than now? Where we can be kinder to each other, more patient with each other, and let our new normal be where we can appreciate the smaller things just a little bit more. So I wish everybody a great summer, whatever that ends up looking like. And to all the listeners, and especially to our Aztec community, please stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the fall, no matter what that looks like.
Very good. I totally agree. Mr. Carpenter, thank you very much for joining us this morning, both of you actually, of course, and for your dedication to our audiences to appear throughout the school year with me once a month to give us an update on Aztec Schools. We will give you the summer off, but I think you're going to be busy, both of you, as we get ready for the fall, but we'll reconnect in August and get an update on how things are shaping up for the next school year. So thank you both for your commitment to KSJE and to our listeners.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Scott, just as a side note, real quick, Vista Nueva, June 20th, their graduation, and those kids, we're proud of them as well. We talk a lot about Aztec High Schools because it's coming up this week, but those kids, congratulations to them as well. There's only 16 of them, but when we say only, those kids have done a tremendous job, and we don't want to leave them out. And I know theirs is coming up. They're waiting to see what they can do. Theirs is going to be a little bit different to see if they can do something, maybe in person. When I say in person, it'll be maybe just the graduates and the principal, but theirs is coming up, and we want to congratulate those kids and their families as well, and they've done a tremendous job too. So can't leave those kids out because they are absolutely a great accomplishment for that faculty and those teachers and everybody over there at Vista Nueva, our other high school.
That's very true.
We're very proud of them as well.
Congrats to all the seniors from Aztec. That's very true, Mr. Carpenter. Thank you very much, both of you. And again, a safe summer to you both. And we will connect with you again in August. My guests this morning from the Aztec School District, Superintendent Kirk Carpenter and Deputy Superintendent Tania Prokop. I'm Scott Micklin. This is KSJE. Back with more in just a moment. The time is 8:43.
A new strategy for getting